chapter number 19. The Gospel of Luke, chapter number 19. Then Matthew, chapter number 21. Luke 19, verse 30. Saying, Go ye into the village over against you, in which at your entering ye shall find the colt tied. Everyone say a tied colt. Whereon yet never a man sat. Loose him and bring him hither. If any ask you, why do you loose him? Thus shall you say unto him, because the Lord hath need of him. And they that were sent went their way and found even as he had said unto them. And as they were loosing the colt, the owner thereof said unto them, Why loose ye the colt? Ask your neighbor, why are they loosing the colt? And they said, The Lord hath need of him. And they brought him to Jesus, and they cast their garments upon the colt, and they set Jesus thereon. And as he went, they spread their clothes in the way. And when he was come nigh, even now to the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, Blessed be the King that cometh in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. Over in Matthew's Gospel 21 and 15, it's the same story. It's the exact same events that just happened, but it brings a latter portion out and goes a little farther. But the same things happen. Jesus comes in on the colt. People start praising him, saying, Hosanna to the highest. And the Pharisees are mad. He goes in the temple. In verse 15 of Matthew 21 and 15 said, And when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying in the temple, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were sore displeased, and said unto him, Hearest thou what these say? And Jesus said unto them, Yea, have ye never read, Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou perfected praise. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou perfected praise. Somebody say perfected praise. I want to talk to you a little while. I'll probably split this up half tonight, half tomorrow night. I want to talk to you just a little bit about acceleration beyond my imperfection. Accelerated beyond my imperfection. Would you raise up your hands and tell him, Lord, I want you one more time just to move, just to have your way. Just once more, God, would you do a work in this house on me? One more time, God, would you anoint me? One more time. God, would you look upon us and would you minister to us? If you know much about this time when Jesus come to town riding on the colt, then you probably know also that the prophet Zechariah had predicted that Jesus was going to do this. It wasn't something that just happened, but the prophet said in Zechariah 9:9, Behold, he's going to come into town riding on the colt. Jesus perfected and done exactly what it was said that he was going to do and come to town riding on the colt. And can you believe that people that even knew the scriptures, even knew the word, they missed it and still did not recognize that this is he that was to come riding on the colt. When you understand that, you need to understand one more little thing, and that is where all this was taking place. It was happening at a place called the Mount of Olives. The Mount of Olives is the place where Jesus left the earth and went back into heaven from. And it is also the place that when Jesus comes back to the earth, he will put his foot down on the Mount of Olives. He was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and still some people were not able to catch on to who he was. Right. And I want you just to understand that this was it was a very perfect, it was a very God thought out thing. That here is Jesus fulfilling prophecy. It is in a perfect manner, but in the midst of all of this perfection, the Lord asked for something to happen that you almost can't believe that he would do, because he would have been running the risk to mess this thing up. He tells his disciples, he said, go get me a colt. He said, but don't just get any colt. Go get one that's never had a man sit on him. Now, if anybody knows anything about horses, you got to understand that when you're dealing with a colt, you're dealing with a young horse. You're dealing with an inexperienced horse. You're dealing with a horse that's unlearned. He has not yet proved that he can do anything because he is of a young age. And if that is not enough, Jesus goes out on a limb and said, go get me the colt whereon there's never been a man sit. Go get me one that nobody's ever ridden upon. I'm going to use something here that nobody has ever used before. Can I tell you that I realize that Jesus will use people and use stuff that he's worked with and used before. But I also come to preach and tell you that in the last days, don't be surprised if God don't go find some people, maybe even some young colts, maybe even some young people who have never appeared to have done anything, who may appear to have never accomplished a whole lot, who may never have carried Jesus, but it's not past your understanding to realize that he might take the very person that looks like that they can never even hardly do anything, put his presence on them, and lead him right down to the temple. You know what I want to tell you tonight? God can use who he wants to use when he wants to use them. And he's going to use somebody, and it might as well be you and you and you and you. And there ought to be some young people here that will go ahead and let the Lord know, God, I am available. Lord, I've never preached, but I am available. Lord, I never taught a Bible study, and I've never been on the platform, and I've never done this and that. I've never really proved that I can do anything, but if you give me a chance, God, I'll do whatever it is that you have for me and that you would let me do. Oh, I love how Jesus does stuff, because when he gets ready here to go down to the triumphal entry is what they call it. The triumphant entry of Jesus coming into town. It's preceding his crucifixion. And you would think he would say, go get me a stallion. Go get me a thoroughbred. Go get me a horse that has surely proved that he can do the job. There's something about Jesus. The apostle said it like this: he has chosen the weak things to confound the strong. He's chosen the things that are foolish to confound the wisdom of men. And so what I want you to understand tonight is that we're serving a God who is not looking for somebody who's perfect. There's a place that I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say me. I'm going to preach to me for a moment. If I had a mirror here, I'd just get on my own case. Because I always think, God, you can use us if we're perfect. But he's proved something here in two dimensions. Number one, he said, I'm going to use a colt that ain't even ever done anything. Don't Don't you know that whenever Jesus sent these boys off, that they were saying one to another, I don't know what Jesus is fixing to do. If he's going to try to get on this thing, we're going to see a rodeo down here today, because that thing's going to buck. That thing's going to buck Jesus off. Surely he ain't going to try to ride